Hi, my name is Vera, and today I'm going to talk about must-have practices of web accessibility. A little bit about me, who am I? So I am a front-end developer with just over 4 years of experience, and for the past 2 years I've been working with this amazing team at DevExperts. So in addition to development, I'm also a mentor in our official internship program. I'm a professional onboarder, or serial onboarder, because as the majority of developers who join the front-end team of the project I'm working on right now are onboarded by me. So I was born in Kazakhstan and spent half of my life in Portugal, so I like thinking of myself as half Kazakh and half Portuguese. And regarding Sofia, it's not my first visit. I came here the last summer for a work trip, but I returned for the food. So I'm a sucuk fan, and this presentation is just a great excuse. Sorry. So, a question for you: how many of you works with accessibility on day-to-day basis? Yeah. Well, as I thought, like many of you, I didn't pay much attention to accessibility until I inherited some task from a colleague of mine. And once I started working on those tasks, I realized how understated this area is. Because this is a unique area where every effort you make will undeniably improve human life. Starting from adding a simple alternative text to developing a technology that can read human minds and translate it to a speech, audible speech. It's all about accessibility. And I'm actually very happy that we are witnessing a technological explosion in this area. And as Anastasia mentioned previously, there are even countries who legally require their government websites and even private products to be fully accessible. So this is great news. And today I'm going to try to shine a light on accessibility from more a technical standpoint. We will explore the mechanics of creating an accessible component, what tools to use and how to test them. And the best way to demonstrate that, I think, it's through a practical case. And I think I found a perfect guinea pig. It will be a simple color picker filter like any of these. And I bet you've seen, especially the last one, in clothing shops. It's very often. But we will focus on the list itself because I want to keep it like simple as possible and I don't want to bore you with tons of code. So this is our guinea pig. And this is the code for the guinea pig. And as you can see, it's super mega simple code. It's just a list with SVGs. And we do have front-end developers here. Right, I suppose. So, let's be honest here, colleagues. We have tendency of overusing divs for everything. Yes, literally everything. So this is the similar case. It's just pure divs, and it's nothing special, right? It happens all the time, but it's an accessibility nightmare. And before I show you why it's a nightmare, let's talk briefly about screen readers. So, what are the screen readers? Screen readers are assistive software programs that help mainly visually impaired users to interact with digital content. Screen readers basically translate on-screen text and elements into a human audible speech. So in this table, you can see the ranking of the most commonly used screen readers in the market. It's a survey conducted by web IAM in 2019, as you can see. And at DevExperts, we focus on NVDA and VoiceOver because they basically cover the majority of user segment. NVDA because it's for Windows, it's open source, therefore it's free, because JAWS is paid. It's great, but it's paid. So, and VoiceOver is inbuilt software for macOS and iOS systems. So, how do they work? Basically, when a web page is loaded, the browser creates the document object model, and the screen reader parses through that model instead of trying to decodify what's on the screen. Basically, the experience of using a screen reader consists of focusing on an element with a mouse or keyboard using these next shortcuts. So tab is used to jump from one actionable element to another actionable element, and by actionable I mean a button, for example. Any element, HTML element, that can trigger an action. So, and shift, combination of shift and tab, it's basically like reversed tab, so it will jump like to the previous actionable element. And if the user is focused on a button, for example, and press the enter or space, it will trigger the action that that button has. And at the end, arrow keys. So arrow keys are great to create more granular navigation. So in case of tabs, you can jump just from one item to another item, actionable item. And in case of arrow keys, you can navigate through the layout, or the entire layout, so button and the text, etc. So, and you, as you saw in this video that stopped, it basically focuses on an element and reads its content or label and the type of element. So now that we have a basic idea, hopefully, of screen readers, we should get back to our example. So this is our list, and this is how it is seen by a regular sighted user, if you are a regular sighted user. So, and this is how it will be perceived by users with tritanopia who like the perception of blue light, users with deuteranopia who can see green light, protanopia who like the perception of red light, and at the end, achromatopsia, they will see everything in grayscale. Now that we have a lack of the descriptive text or tooltips, it becomes nearly impossible to distinguish within these two colors. So these users with color blindness still can have some kind of experience. They still can interact with the list, select an item, etc. But it will be just meh. So, and this is how users with visual impairment will perceive our list.
Open the image.
As you can see, as you can see, screen reader didn't have any idea that we are on the list. It doesn't know we have options there, nor colors. It just focused on SVG and just read image. So users with visual impairment are completely lost in our UI. So the first step to improve this situation would be to embrace the power of HTML semantics. Yay! So, HTML is the foundation of the web. And in accessibility, when we talk about semantics, it's not just jargon. It's the very essence of creating similar experience to everybody. So semantics are important. And in our situation, I basically replaced the simple divs by UL and LE. UL is unordered list and LE is list item. Well, consider this. When we use non-semantic tags like div and span indiscriminately, we are basically speaking in a muffled whisper. So for a sighted user, our UI can be like the same, right? But for assistive technologies, it's like trying to translate a language without grammar or punctuation. It's just terrible. So let's see how it's just simple replacement will affect our experience. Let there be light.
Open demo. Frame list 2 items. Image 1 of 2. Image.
Wow. Hallelujah. We have a list and it has 2 items. Still, we have no idea what's inside of this list. And to even perfect our component, we will add ARIA-Attributes as a finishing touch. So what is ARIA? ARIA stands for Accessible Rich Internet Applications. And ARIA-Attributes are basically a set of rules developed by World Wide Web Consortium, or as we call it, W3C. It's a logo that you will see very often if you start working with accessibility. So, W3C is an international organization that sets these rules, but also manages languages as HTML and CSS. So, screen read. So, some HTML semantic tags come with inbuilt accessibility information. We all know that they come with styles, default styles, right? And you can see the accessibility information just right beside the styles tab in your inspector. So it will come with information like all the necessary properties, ARIA labels, etc. ARIA attributes if we are passing some. And also in accessibility tree, it will show you the element you're focusing on right now and all the directly related elements. So in case of navigation, as you can see, it will show all the related links. So it's a great thing. So please check out when you get home. And very funny thing. So ARIA attributes are great. They are basically add all the information to the elements that, how to say, like complementary information. And the first rule of ARIA is actually don't use ARIA. A very funny thing. So what does it mean? So it means that if there is HTML semantic tag that will give you the behavior you're looking for, just use that tag instead of trying to recreate it with div or anything else. Why? Because in the example here you can see that the button, it's very short, it's tiny, right? But if you try to recreate, and you can recreate a button with div, you have to add, I don't know how many ARIA attributes and try to recreate all the functionalities with JavaScript. Is just tiring, and I don't see any benefit in that. So always try to use the semantic tag. So let's go back to our code. So this is now the final improved code. As you can see, I added a bunch of new stuff. Well, they are all correlated, so let's study each one by one. So, okay, so logically, how we would start? We want to focus on our list, right? So, and tab index is a global attribute that sets the tab order of an element when user navigates by pressing tab key. So in our case, we are setting 0. It means that our list is focusable, and you can actually set tab index 0 to any kind of element. Please don't overuse it. So, and if you wanna explicitly hide the element, you just add tab index -1. And in case if you want some specific, some fancy navigation, you can even set basically tab index 0, 1, 2, 3, and it will just basically follow that order. Now that we focus on our list, screen reader should describe the list for user with visual impairment, right? So that's why we are using ARIA label by. And inside ARIA label by, you can see that I'm referring to the ID of a label. So ID is not unique to ARIA, of course, but it's very often used in conjunction with ARIA-Attributes to relate one element to another, as in our case. So whenever screen reader focuses on our list, it will read our list of colors, list, instead of just saying list. So we can actually put anything there and describe our list. One thing, don't forget that whenever you use ARIA labeled by or ARIA described by, it's another attribute, screen reader will read the label instead of reading the content like itself. So if you have a button with label button and then it's being labeled by a text saying not a button, screen reader will say it's not a button. So yeah. Okay, now that we focused on the list, we know the description. What kind of list is this? Is it just a list with listed items? Is it a menu? Is it a tab list, right? In our case, it will be a list box with options, because we can interact with that, we can select the colors. And as we can select the colors, we are setting attribute called ARIA-selected. That can be false or true or undefined. And whenever you use this combination of list box and option, don't forget to set the state of the option. So when screen reader reads, focuses on the list item, it will say if it's selected or not. So it's very important, otherwise it will just say that it's all selected. So, and also if you wanna hide an option, you just say add ARIA disabled true and ARIA selected false, and that option will be omitted. So, ARIA active descendant for last, we have to know what option is being focused right now, right? So, ARIA active descendant is basically an attribute that lets us know which element is focused without changing the actual focus from the list. Why we want to do that? Because first, when we change focus from one item to another and we just overuse that, it will be heavy on performance. And also in this way, we will have very predictable screen reader behavior. So whenever it focuses on the list, it will read just the content of the list instead of like rereading all the common information. So this is how it will work. So as you can see, I'm here moving with arrow keys, and it is basically replacing the content of ARIA active descendant with the ID of the currently focused element. At the end, it's the last attribute, my favorite. So ARIA hidden true is a great attribute if you wanna hide some information, if you don't wanna pollute your UI. So, for example, it's great when you open a model and you don't want screen reader to focus on the background of the model, so you hide it. Yeah. And in our situation, I'm hiding the label that I created, right? Why? Because sighted user most probably won't need any description of the list. They just open the list and know it's a list of colors. So we are basically hiding it with class, so it will be invisible, and we are having this area hidden true because we don't want it to be read twice. So we want it only to be read when we focus on the list itself. And in the case of SVGs, we are hiding it because it will start reading image or sometimes content of the SVG, and we just don't want that, and it's easier to simply describe our images and icons. So in our situation, I'm adding a complementary label, as you can see, for each color to describe the color. It could be label, it could be tooltip, whatever you like, but you should always describe things. So, once again, this is the improved code, and to test the markup of the code that you wrote, you can go to validator.w3.org, and you basically put there your markup, and it will say if it's correct, incorrect, what you should add. So it's great. So it's done by W3C also. So let's see how our component looks like now. So it's basically the same list, but with labels. And also I'm adding, as you can see, a blue layout, because we always have to show the focus state of the current focused element. So it will be visible to users with visual impairment. So this outline will be only visible by keyboard navigation, not mouth. And this is how screen reader will read our example.
Entering our list of colors list box. Red, selected 1 of 2. Orange not selected, 2 of 2. Orange, selected 2 of 2. Red not selected, 1 of 2.
So yeah, well, at the end we have a list with a description, with 2 options, with colors inside, and each option is interactable, and we know the state of each option. So it's just a simple, beautiful, accessible list. So summing up everything, use appropriate HTML semantics always. So don't overuse attributes, but use it. Always try to describe your content with text and tooltips. It's very important, not only to users with visual impairment, but users with color blindness. Also, create logical navigation, because some things need to be navigated in conjunction with tab and arrow keys and page up, page down, etc. So we can have seamless user experience. So don't make the navigation just with pure tabs. It's just bad. And also test it with different screen readers, test it in different browsers, and I believe you will have a very nice accessible component at the end. So yeah, whenever you design and develop a component, please keep in mind accessibility. So we can make the web accessible to everyone. This is it. Thank you very much.